All right, I think maybe we will just start to get rolling. Can I ask the panelists to turn on your cameras? Hopefully everybody can see everybody once we do that. It's a real pleasure to be convening and moderating this session. I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Dr. Vikki Farini. I'm a research scientist at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory in New York. I am the head of the Regional Center for the Atlantic and Indian Oceans for the Seabed 2030 project. And I've been delighted to be strengthening our ties with the community in and around Africa over the past year. And it's a real pleasure to bring this group of people together and have them give us all an update on various mapping activities around Africa. Very briefly, I'm just going to say who the panelists are and tell you how this session will run. The session is going to be about 10-minute presentations from each of our panelists, and then we'll have a chance for Q&A and questions and discussion at the end. Our panelists include Mr. Mika Odito from IOC Africa, who will give a few words at the beginning. We'll move on from there to Dr. Zachary Sohu from IOC Africa, then Mr. Amin Kameli and Victoria Obora, who both are alumni of the JEBCO Nippon Foundation training program and who are going to provide us an update from Kenya. We'll then move on to Lieutenant Commander Telmo Diaz from the Hydrographic Institute of Portugal to give us an update on activities around Africa from the Portuguese perspective. Then we'll move on, hopefully, to Ms. Gazelle Yubuni, who is hopefully joining us from Cameroon. And then finally, Ms. Brianna Bambik, who represents the Allen Coral Atlas. So again, I think I've said it, but we are recording this session. I'm not sure if that was everybody that was joining had heard that. So I think that's all I'm going to say for now. I'm going to hand it over to Mika, and I look forward to hearing everyone's presentations.
Thank you very much, Vikki. On behalf of the Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, I'd like to welcome all of you to this session. It's really a honor and a pleasure for us to co-host not just this session, but the symposium we're having this week. It gives us an opportunity to reflect on what progress have we made in mapping the seafloor around Africa. What are the opportunities for building on this? What are the challenges? How can we address these challenges? And how can we work together in the UN Decade of Ocean Science to improve the capacities for mapping in the region? We hope that we'll be able to generate interesting ideas that we can feed into the process for regional planning for the decade. We had planned a regional launch of the decade middle of this month in Alexandria, but we have postponed this to May next year, from 10th to 12th of May, due to the current sanitary situation. And we hope that we'll be able to have some of you with us there so that you can also build on the ideas that we'll generate today. With this few remarks, I'd like to hand back to Vikki and the next speaker. Thank you very much, and welcome to all of you, and look forward to an interesting discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mika. Dr. Sohu, are you ready to share your slides and give your presentation, please?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. I present you the opportunity and some reflection on opportunities for collaboration in data and ocean information management. You know that in the framework of the IOC Africa, which is organization or one of organization of IOC in Africa. The first IOC was established in 1960 as an intergovernmental body for the UN system for ocean science observation, data, services, capacity development, and science to governance work. And this has 150 member states and focus on the building of scientific knowledge, applying the knowledge for societal benefit and improvement governance. The IOC subcommission for Africa and the adjacent Island state, York Africa, was established in 2011 as a framework to facilitate coordination among member states in the region and to ensure the efficient implementation of IOC program in Africa. It's one of IOC 3 sub-commission. The other 2 cover the Western Pacific, Westpac, and the Caribbean and adjacent region, Caribbean. And you know that York Africa aims to promote scientific research and understanding of the ocean and coastal environment and resources, and provide the science basis on necessary for the development of the blue economy in Africa, as outlined in the Africa Union Agenda 2063, the African wants. The Agenda 2063 requires that Africa's blue economy should be a major contributor to continental transformation and growth, advancing knowledge on marine and aquatic biotechnology, the growth of Africa-wide shipping industry, the development of the sea, river, and lake transport and fishing, and exploitation and beneficiation from deep sea mineral and other resources. The 2050 African Integrated Marine Strategy Plan of Action M2050 and the Africa Blue Economy Strategy provide a roadmap for harnessing the region blue economy potential in sustainable way. The African Union has also declared the period 2015 and 2025 as the decade of African sea and ocean, and the 25th of July as the African Day of the Sea and Ocean. All this action points to a continent determined to increase awareness of its ocean and resources and harness them in a sustainable manner. We have York Africa, when we focus in area of York Africa, where we've partnered in the region, including national institutions and regional organization to support this. Our program can be categorized in the following three broad areas, which are all relevant for our discussion today: ocean observation and data and information management, ocean science and its application to management, development for marine science and technology, and ocean literacy. I will, in the next couple of slides, focus on a few areas are particularly relevant for our discussion this week. Now, York Africa is working with several institutions and organizations in the region to develop digital coastal and marine atlases, improve access to data online, and also the capacity to process and analyze the data. This includes sourcing, collecting, and formatting marine geospatial data sets and making them available to marine scientists and managers while building capacity for marine data management. York Africa is also contributing to the development of an ocean data and information hub that will ensure interoperability between existing information systems and improve the flow of information to end of information to ensure to the end user. The initial data type to be improved throughout the hub will include people and institution, organization, documents and best practice, spatial data map, training opportunity, and vessel research opportunity. EOC Africa has organized initiative for retrieving data set collected in the region and available in data set outside the region and digitization of data in paper format in danger of being lost. Other programs include the support for ocean data collection and strengthening of the regional ocean observation. I will now highlight some key issues that we plan to address during the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, which run for 2021-2030. The decade aims to provide the knowledge system needed for policy and action to achieve the global ocean supporting sustainable development by 2030 and beyond. 7 outcomes have been identified together with the 10 related challenges that should be addressed in order to achieve the outcome. See the challenge is there, understand and beat marine pollution and so on. So now we have 5 recommendations. Five recommendations were made during the regional consultation of the decade. The need of harness of the demographic dividend by empowering the huge pool of youthful population through focus ocean literacy program supporting scale development and mentoring to enable them fit in the job market and creating a new opportunity for employment. We need to catalyze research in key ocean-related field and link the research result to societal application. The importance of improving the quality of research output and using them to transform life through innovation and robust application of ocean science. Strengthening of ocean research in the region through stronger integration of science, greater investment in ocean observation system, and improved science policy interface. And finally, establishment of university-based ocean innovation incubator to serve as a conduit to transform research results to action via technology development that is adapted to regional and local context, at lead by African researchers. Now, the consultation also raised the following data-related issues that need to be addressed. First, a need for an improved focus on user-driven data. Challenge in data sharing related to a lack of common platform or incomparability metadata in data format. Lack on standardization policy in relation to be open data access data. Technical capacity and resource limitation and lack of trust between organizations to share data. Participant emphasizes that data is sensitive issue. Fly in, fly out research is not acceptable, and better system for creating and managing African data in Africa need to be developed while still maintaining connectivity to the global data landscape. And now the following actions were proposed in an inventory for existing repository and platform should be carried out along with analysis of existing metadata format, language, and fitness of use. Efforts in data reduce salvage and digitization to fully optimize the use of existing data set. Standardization is a role for clearing house mechanism and policy alignment on data sharing and open assets policy. Countries should address the lack of long-term continuous time series of data required for studies such as climate change of ecoregion degradation. National oceanography data and information centers should be established or strengthened to manage the data. Capacity development priority include increased skill in data management, collection, curation, analysis, and digitization. Investment is in open source software and peer-to-peer exchange for skill transfer. I think that is a very good challenge for data challenge is a problem, a challenge in Africa. That I think that if we can really with this challenge, make a success and share also training course with the younger for the future of our ocean. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tohu. That was a great presentation and it hit on a lot of very important points that are relevant to what we're trying to do within the Seabed 2030 project and what we're trying to do within the UN decade. Building trust and standards and sharing knowledge and building capacity are really core to this. And it's really great to start to bring more people to the table to engage in these conversations and learn how we can help lift each other up. I think we shall move on to the next presentation. So if you could stop sharing your screen. We will hand over to Mr. Amon Kimeli, from the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, who will be supported by Victoria Obura. They have a joint presentation. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
So maybe to confirm if you can see my presentation. So welcome everyone. My name is Amon. I work with Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. And my colleague Victoria works for the Survey of Kenya. And we are both JEPCO training program alumni. So we are going to present some of the key mapping efforts we've undertaken and we are undertaking through our institution and also through the national government. So as we have already heard from the previous presentations within this symposium, bathymetric data provide a base map for literally almost all ocean-related fields, so, ranging from maritime navigation, resource exploration, coastal marine spatial planning, and even climate mitigation. And as the rest of the global ocean, the Indian Ocean is also quite covered by sparsely and even not publicly available high resolution data, with around less than 5% currently covered by publicly available data. And it provides that aspect of the need to map some of these gaps and to develop an even full seafloor coverage map for the Indian Ocean and even for some of our maritime states. So Kenya is currently having a permanent maritime research platform, the RV Mtafiti, the only one along the East African coast. And this has opened a lot of wide range of opportunities in terms of collection of bathymetric data and even other information, including oceanographic and environmental. So the vessel is currently equipped with single beam echo sounders, the Simrad EK60, and also a portable EK80 for those areas which are highly restricted in terms of the space, the creeks, the harbors, and even the nearshore areas. And using this research platform, we have already conducted some few cruises within the entire Kenyan EEZ, and these were mainly through hydroacoustics for fish and even other environmental parameters, but we also collected some bathymetric data within these cruises. And from these RV Mtafiti cruises, we identified some few very interesting geomorphologic features. For example, the ones shown on this slide, we found them in the northern coast of Kenya, and it is situated within a very interesting fishery zone called the North Kenya Banks. So there has always been a report of eye fishery biomass and even eye fishery catch within this area. And we now know that some of these features create or even provide very nice habitats for fish in terms of fish habitats and even breeding areas. And this also led to multi-country, multinational research project looking at the environmental drivers and even productivity that underpins this fishery. Additionally, in 2007, Kenya collected high-resolution multi-beam data, and this was mainly for Kenya's UNCLOS project, United Convention on the Law of the Sea project, where we were looking at trying to delineate our outer continental shelf, and this data is also in support of Kenya's submission to the CLCS for the extension of its EEZ. However, the near-shore areas, the Kenyan shallow waters, remain unmapped, but we also know that there are some high-resolution data already collected within this area of the shoreline, but the data is not publicly available, or if they are available, they're only in paper products, and this is due to contractual terms and even data sharing moratoriums, and some of the data were collected by in government-to-government programs, and therefore some of the data was not shared. But we look in future to maybe determine how we can get access to this data, even process them, and even submit to data repositories for supporting the Seabed 2030 project. So this high resolution data also, we can observe very nice geomorphologic features within our waters, and therefore in future, if we can do some of these high resolution mapping of our near shore, then we can already determine some of the marine heritage sites, shipwrecks, and even some of the geomorphologic changes within our near coastal areas. So also we've tried to utilize some of the cost-effective methods of the satellite-derived bathymetry, and we did a trial case study for our Mombasa port area, and we already identified that some of these methodologies can work, and we are now cascading it to the entire coastline and even applying some of the high-resolution Sentinel data for this purpose. So we hope to also try to provide these data and even share some of these data to our colleagues and even within the region or even the global data repositories. But also some of the institutions in Kenya, since we don't have an autonomous hydrographic office, some of those institutions that have ocean-related mandates have also collected data, especially in terms of the oil and gas industry. They have collected some seismic data, gravity data, but also this data is not publicly available or in paper products, but we are also looking to define that way of sharing some of these data so that we can process and even gain advantages in terms of understanding our nearshore waters and even the EEZ. The Survey of Kenya, also the institution where my colleague works, they are also responsible for mapping and even charting some of the inland waters with two very large lakes like the Lake Victoria, the second largest freshwater lake in the world, and even Lake Turkana. So these we would also maybe in future see how we can support the Seabed 2030, mapping the gaps and even supporting in terms of data sharing. We are also in the process of updating some of our old charts. As you can see from this image, we have several charts, and some were as late or as early as 1990s or even early 1950s since they were updated. So this also provides that avenue where we can collect some of the bathymetric data for updating the charts. And we are also looking at valorizing some of the national multi-agency committee, like the Kenya National Hydrographic and Oceanographic Committee, to spearhead the coordination of hydrographic services in terms of data collection, sharing of the available data, and even developing products in terms of bathymetric charts, updating the charts that we have, and also maybe pool resources and even collect more data. And this is always showing some progress, but also with some challenges, with now the biggest progress being the critical pool of trained professionals within the region, with several professionals within the ocean mapping realm. And they are also active within a large connected and global alumni community. And we are also participating in global initiatives and projects like the Seabed 2030 and also the International Indian Ocean Expedition. The main challenge has always been, and I'm sure this is cross-cutting, has been the challenge of funding, where it has that high cost implication in terms of equipment acquisition, data collection in terms of seagoing cruises, and even training. But this it provides also the opportunities where interinstitutional partnerships through a memorandum of understandings and even government-to-government partnerships and regional initiatives like the African Coastal Marine Atlas initiative through the IOC. And also now with the global initiative of the Seabed 2030, we hope to valorize on this opportunity and also participate fully in terms of seeing that the ocean is fully mapped by the year 2030. But also mapping the gaps has to be bigger than just the small ocean mapping community within our country and even within our region. For example, Kenya has taken the center stage in terms of hosting the first Blue Economy Conference in November 2018. In 2020, it hosted the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Africa and Adjacent Island States. And Kenya also recently became the 95th member of the International Hydrographic Organization. And Kenya is planning to co-host with Portugal the upcoming UN conference to support the sustainable implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 14, Life Underwater. And we hope to leverage on this goodwill from the government to see that we progress the issues of ocean mapping within our country and even within our region. Thank you very much. And I hope we can get some few questions and we can answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aman. As a reminder, you can post questions in the Q&A and in the chat, and we'll be tending those sort of via text while presentations are ongoing. And we'll have time for discussion at the end of the session. You highlighted a lot of really great points in that presentation, including really the concept that seabed mapping is really just the beginning. There's so much more that can and must be done, and also the relevance of this data for a whole lot of different applications. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to our next presenter, Lieutenant Commander Telmo Diaz from Portugal. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you confirm that you are seeing my screen?
Yes, looks great.
Yes, okay, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present our mapping efforts in West Africa. My name is Telmo Diaz. I'm a Navy officer and a hydrographer, and I work at the data center of the Portuguese Hydrographic Office. So this is the agenda for the presentation. I will start with a brief introduction regarding the Portuguese Hydrographic Office mapping initiatives. Next, I will detail some of the high-resolution bathymetric coverage in the region. Next, I will present some issues that we encountered during the mapping process. And finally, I will conclude with the data management principles that could solve some of these issues. So aligned with Seabed 2030, the Portuguese Hydrographic Office has its own mapping project, Cmap 2030. Its vision is to complete the high-resolution mapping of all the Portuguese maritime spaces by 2030 And its mission is to contribute to the conservation and sustainable use of the sea, supporting research and promoting development, aligned with the United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here we can see the current state of the project. On the left, the actual coverage in each maritime space, and on the right, the estimated survey days needed to complete the task. Besides these efforts, the Portuguese Hydrographic Office has also conducted some mapping missions in Africa. So Portugal is the primary charting authority for countries in Africa like Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, São Tomé and Príncipe, Angola and Mozambique. This means the Portuguese Hydrographic Office is responsible for providing, among other services, charting and hydrographic surveying services. It also means that there should be data exchange or acknowledgement, for instance, bathymetric surveys conducted or commissioned by these countries. The systematic mapping mission started in 2016, and they have been repeated almost every year. Currently, there's an ongoing mission in Angola. The size of the surveyed area has varied because sometimes the main objective has been to conduct coastal and harbor surveys, and small depths equal small areas. And sometimes the main task is to conduct coastal surveys. So this is why the area sizes are different. All of these missions were integrated into a military initiative called Open Sea, with the exception of the one performed in 2020, whose main objective was data collection for a scientific project called Untitled. These missions have all been accomplished with the Portuguese Navy hydrographic vessels, and in 2020 it was also used a local fishing vessel where we installed the multi-beam system. So next I will detail some of the bathymetric coverages. This is the current multi-beam coverage in Cape Verde. Besides the transit data, mapping efforts have been focused on the continental shelves here of São Vicente Island, here on the north, and Santiago Island here on the south. And we also have high resolution coverage of some seamounts near these islands. So in Guinea-Bissau, the coverage is limited to the harbor area of Bissau, which is highlighted here. And we had only one mission in this area in 2017. So it's something we intend to improve in future missions. And finally, this is the coverage in São Tomé and Príncipe. It was achieved in 2016. And since then, we haven't returned there. The undergoing mission plans to go there this year. So in the future, we also intend to cover the continental shelf of both São Tomé and Príncipe Islands. So next, I will specify some issues that we encountered during the data acquisition process. So in 2019, we were partners in a scientific project named Untitled, for which we conducted a survey in Santiago Island, Cape Verde, in 2020. And we also got access to multi-beam data acquired in 2019 by the vessel Meteor for the same project, which is shown here in these images. In this process, we got to know that several hydrographic vessels had conducted scientific campaigns in Cape Verde. So we contacted the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency of Germany and got access to Meteor and Maria S. Marian multi-beam raw data. And we also contacted the National Oceanographic Center of the UK, and we got access to Charles Darwin multi-beam raw data. So next we processed the data, and we ended up with much improved bathymetric coverage, as we can see here on this image on the right. So I will also would like to point out in this process that our official contacts in Cape Verde didn't have this data or know anything about it. So, and that at that moment, we didn't know about any data portal where we could search for the data. So this was all done by email contacts. So this to highlight that the problem with seabed mapping isn't only the effort needed to complete the unsurveyed areas, but also the work needed to actually identify the unsurveyed areas. So we have a problem with the unknown seabed and also with the unknown seabed data. Here on the right is our actual coverage in Cape Verde, and on the left, the one presented at the CDB, for instance. And here the rainbow colored coverage is our own, and the yellow colored coverage is external data that we requested and processed. So accessibility and integration of the data are critical in the mapping process. Finally, I will conclude now how this could be solved, some of these issues. So we consider that the seabed mapping data, like other marine data, must follow the FAIR principles and be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And to accomplish this, there are at least two critical aspects. So the first one is the need for a spatial data infrastructure, a data portal, and a metadata catalog to allow data to be searched and identified. And this would solve the problems that we had in Cape Verde, for instance, and the need to publish data as web services so that it can be incorporated into other data portals. And this would mean that updates from the data owner would automatically be reflected in all the subsidiary data portals, following the good practice of only one data source. So the Portuguese Hydrographic Office recently launched its own data portal, it's Hidrográfico Plus, where we have already published the national seabed coverage. And in the future, after the required authorization processes are complete, we intend also to publish our Africa coverage and include data download service with similar or better resolutions than the ones advised for seabed 2030 project. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It's wonderful to see all the data that's out there that you all have been working with. And I know I and many people in the community are very eager to see that become available and integrated so that we can leverage the good work that you've all been doing. So thank you. Moving on to our next speaker. Again, put questions in the chat or the Q&A as they come up. Our next speaker will be Ms. Gazelle Yubuni, who is coming to us from Cameroon, from the Specialized Research Station on Marine Ecosystems. So please feel free to share your screen, and the floor is yours. Maybe a little delay here. There we go. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Okay. Hello to everyone. We are very delighted to be there on board for this mapping initiative around Africa. Excuse me. Okay. So I'm going to give a presentation on ocean floor, ocean sea floor in Cameroon, the current status, challenges, and opportunities. This presentation was prepared by Giselle, by me, by Duran, Mrs. Duran, and a researcher, Ulrich Bilunga. All of us are researchers at the Specialized Research Section of Marine Ecosystems. This is the plan of our presentation. We'll have a global view of the Cameroon coastal zone. We have the mapping initiative. We have to share the context in Cameroon seafloor study and the importance of seafloor mapping data opportunities and the need for seafloor mapping activities. Okay, Cameroon is endowed with about 402 kilometers of coastal zone with four types of shoreless. We have from Campo to Longi, as it is shown there. You will see here the rocky capes and sand. From Lokunje to Sanaga, you have the type 2. The type 2, which is characterized by estuaries and delta. The type 3 and type 4 shoreless are mostly made of estuarine mangrove complexes from Sanaga to Nigerian border. Geomorphologically, Cameroon, we have a mean altitude of 350 meters with the presence of Cameroon Mountain, which record 4,100 meters of altitude. On the hydrographical point of view, we have 2 out of the 5 hydrographic basins of Cameroon, which are having their outlet on the coastal zone. These are the coastal river basin, the coastal river basins, and the Sanaga basins. On the geological point of view, we have along the coastal area from the south to the north, we have the Precambrian basement, the unconsolidated sedimentary unit, the sedimentary Cretaceous tertiary at the Douala Basin here, the volcanic unit, and the sedimentary largely Cretaceous tertiary unit. Possible hazards along the coastal area were also identified, and we had inundation, mass movement, seismic, and also some technological and sanitation potential hazard. From these previous slides, we can see that much have not yet been done as far as seabed mapping is concerned. And now we are going to present just some of the main mapping initiatives. Here you see Gechua in 1996, using a seismic method and logging techniques, produced a map of superficial deposits of the 3 sections of the coastal area. We have at the Rio del Rey section, that map, the Rio del Rey section, we have a muddy deposit, as you see green colors. At the Sanaga and mouth of Cameroon section, we have mostly muddy deposits in green and sandy deposits, which are ochre. In the southern part of Cameroon, we have mostly a sandy deposit. During a field school of a master's training program on integrated management of the coastal environment, marine and coastal environment, near shore water depth between Kribi City and the deep sea port, up to 1 kilometer from shore, using a side-mounted Furino low-power echo sounder was assessed, as this map is showing. Also, side scan sonar record indicating highly reflective facies in yellow and less reflective facies also gave some information. Here we have the same data that's shown at different scales. From these slides, the previous slides, we can understand that less is known about the Cameroon seafloor in terms of morphology, habitat, ecosystems, and diversity, both in coastal and open seas area. Even though some industries have done the mapping of the zone, especially for the construction of the deep sea port, for the shore mapping has been done, but data collected are not available for researchers or public users. Few studies also was realized in the nearshore area to characterize the ecosystem habitat and bathymetry. Though the coastal zone is particularly sought for industrial uses, especially as I said, the coastal zone of Kribi, with the deep sea port, the gas power station, and many others. So what are the seabed mapping data important? How are they important for Cameroon? What we can say about it is that seabed mapping data will surely help in monitoring the impact of those industries on the ecosystems. They will help to know the morphology and structure of the seabed in Cameroon, identify area likely to shelter mineral and organic resources, establish and understand the link between seabed morphology and species diversity, especially corals, jellyfish, understand how the seabed morphology affects species distribution along our EEZ and even fish schools, identify area worthy to be protected because of their social, environmental, and economic importance, and predict some natural phenomena that might happen through modelization. And finally, predict and also prepare a response action to phenomena that may result from all the modification of our marine environment. For us, for Cameroon to be able to carry out seabed mapping research activities, there are two main needs. We have, first of all, the capacity building, because specialists of marine geology are scarce in Cameroon. And we have also necessary equipment. And as opportunity to carry out research, we have the presence of a National Institute of Cartography. We have the presence of the Ecosystem Research Station along the coastal zone of Kribi. We have an Institute of Fisheries Science that trains students in the domain of oceanography. And we have the vision of creation of the Oceanographic Institute of Cameroon. All these are opportunities for this kind of research work to be done. This was just a global view of what is being done in Cameroon. We think we are still at the nursery state, and participating in this symposium is very helpful for us, and we are sure that it will bring us more capacities for us to develop these research activities. So thank you for your kind attention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Giselle, for that wonderful presentation and for better informing us about the work that's being done in Cameroon. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us collectively as a community to help build capacity and share knowledge and tools and workflows and build expertise. So I look forward to that ongoing conversation. Our final speaker of the session is Ms. Brianna Bambik from the Allen Coral Atlas. Giselle, if you could stop your screen sharing so that Brianna can share hers. Again, for everyone in the audience, please post questions or save them for the session that we will be having after this presentation. So we'll have a bit of a discussion. Thank you.
Hi, Vikki. Thanks. I'm just sharing my screen now.
Perfect. Looks good.
All right. Awesome. Well, I am overjoyed to share and also be among these other presenters. It was fascinating to hear where they are at with their ocean mapping and all the goals and challenges that they're being overcome with in Africa for this goal of seabed mapping 2030. I'm happy to share here the Allen Coral Atlas, a tool for mapping and monitoring the world's coral reefs, a new tool for coral conservation. I'm Brianna Bambik, a marine biologist and leading the field engagement team at National Geographic Society. And I'm here also with Summer Bingaman, a colleague of mine who's the GIS conservationist, and will be helping with Q&A. If you have anything in the chat, please let us know if you have any questions. So to make the Allen Coral Atlas has been a true team effort through a global partnership that you see here. It has also taken a global collaboration with hundreds of researchers to truly make this idea a reality. We hope this short presentation gives you an idea of what the Atlas is, how you can use it in Africa, and a quick demo on how to download some of the data, as well as how the Atlas is already impacting some of Western Indian Ocean and Eastern Africa and other stories around the globe. So first we start with, why do we map? It's a big question, and I'm just going to give you a little regional example. Gustav Kagersten from the Geological Society of Sweden came to us about 2 years ago working on a spatial planning project for the Western Indian Ocean Symphony Group. And he, and as many others around the world, are looking for consistent data and something they can rely on for regional planning and conservation initiatives. As you can see here, this is a map of East Africa, and there is a large amount of data missing, as well as on the right, you can see that from the African Marine Atlas and the WCMC, there's incongruency with where the reef area actually is. So our team took on many of these challenges, like others I've heard today, to develop maps. And our initiative was to develop the first ever globally consistent benthic and geomorphic map and monitoring system of the world's shallow coral reefs. We did this by using millions of satellite images, algorithms, semi-automated machine learning tools, and a collaborative effort from the science community that contributed over 480 data sets. And so we now have 250,000 kilometers squared of shallow coral reef. So this is the regions mapped already, and let me give you a quick tour of our free tool. So you can go to allencoralatlas.org and take a look now. So this is a picture of Glorioso Islands in the Western Indian Ocean, and this is a Planet Dove imagery down to 3.7 meter resolution, and you can see the level of detail of the island on the left bottom corner and the rest of the reef crest. In order to make maps from this imagery, we have to have a consistent bathymetry layer. So we needed, we created a first of its kind bathymetry to using bottom reflectance and Sentinel-2 and Planet Dove imagery. And this map is down to 15 meters. And from this bathymetry and combined with the imagery, we were able to make, with the University of Queensland Remote Sensing and Research Center, this benthic map here. They use field data collected by survey teams and existing data sets to generate the maps using object-based analysis and machine learning tools. It's really quite fascinating that every single color coordinates with a specific class. As you see on the right, coral, algae, seagrass, microalgal mats, rock, rubble, and sand. Next, we have the first ever geomorphic zonage, condensing hundreds of geomorphic classes into 12 consistent zones across the globe. We also have a quarterly turbidity monitoring system. And this is available for download only, same as the bathymetry. And it's showing the highest level of turbidity per pixel at 10-meter resolution. And our newest product is a coral bleaching monitoring system that alerts of potential bleaching events using the bottom reflectance. This alert is initiated by NOAA's Coral Reef Watch layer by sea surface temperature when it gets to alert level at warning. Then this signals a heat stress. So again, this is all on the Allen Coral Atlas, which I will be giving you a quick tour right now. Please let me know if you can see my screen all right. So it's important to sign in so you are able to actually download the data. I'm going to make this a smaller screen so I can get at this. Here we go. And then we want to go to the Atlas to see the maps. We're zoomed into Glorioso Island, and I want to show you that you can go to the mapped areas, and this will show you region by region, and that are already categorized. We can go to the Western Indian Ocean here. Show you the polygons that are mapped. And then what you'll also see is that there's a marine protected area layer that is new, and it's put on by the World Database of Protected Areas. We know this is not always 100% accurate. However, it's something to go off of. And we can zoom in and create a polygon in order to get stats of a certain area. So I'm going to create a polygon using this left panel here and create a small polygon here, double click to finish it. Because this is over 100 kilometers squared, we have to save the area to my account and check back later for results. So I'll save the area. However, I've already saved an area, so I'm going to go to my areas up here on the top tab and go back to Glorioso Island. And you can see here the stats bar comes up. We're back at Glorioso Island, and you can see the geomorphic zones in kilometers and percentages here, as well as download data. So this is the fun part, is you can just click what layer you'd like and choose the format you'd like it in here. And just highlighting the bathymetry data is at the bottom here of the composite depth, and you can agree for the data license and then prepare download. It will arrive in your email in the next 2 to 3 days. So one other little feature is that you can upload your own area of interest with coordinates right here. So now we'll pop back to the presentation, and we'll show you how, now that we have downloaded data, how does this create an impact? And we hope that it informs decision-making locally, inspire conservation regionally, and engage with researchers worldwide. Because of the collaborative support that I keep mentioning of the 450 science teams that have contributed data and the 5 founding partners, we now have over 30 countries using the maps for planning purposes, such as identifying vulnerable habitats for endangered species, prioritizing biodiversity, coastal relief assessment, and marine spatial planning. And I want to highlight that all of these planning methods need a bathymetry-based layer consistency to really work. So going back to the regional example by the Western Indian Ocean Symphony, luckily these maps were useful already in this area. Thanks to Gustav and team, they were able to use the Atlas data in collaboration with these other fabulous data sets you see here. They were co-developing an environmental assessment tool for marine spatial planning in the Western Indian Ocean. So the method is called Symphony. It's developed to quantify ecosystems and environmental pressures in order to inform regional marine spatial planning. So we're just thrilled that this is products already being used, and we hope that you all can use it as well. And also we encourage people to come to us if you have suggestions for improvements as well, because this is, as we all know, just work in progress. So if Summer could add in the link, we also have other stories of how the Atlas is being used around the world at Story Maps ArcGIS page right here. So thanks, Summer, for adding that link in, or I'll send it in the chat later. And before I go, I just want to leave you with a few resources. We have an online course, Introduction to Remote Sensing and Using the Allen Coral Atlas, on the reef resilience. It was a collaboration with the Nature Conservancy. We also hope to see you later at Impact 5 at a to be determined workshop, the International Marine Protected Areas Conference next September 2022, and a demo video that we have on the YouTube channel. And please look up FAQ page if you have any questions. So please stay in touch, either at support@allencoralatlas.org or sign up for our newsletter, or you can use this fancy QR code. And I just want to say thank you so much for inviting us. We want to thank the organizers and the participants. I hope to get in touch with you because it sounds like you have some great research going. And we're truly excited to see where ocean mapping will go in the next 5 to 10 years. And we welcome collaboration if people want to have ideas or collaborations to really improve Africa mapping and global mapping. So thanks so much, and back to you.
Great, thank you. That was a great presentation. I was vigorously taking notes about data resources I didn't know existed, and my team will be following up on that. I think this was a really great session to give us a lot more perspective on mapping needs and status around Africa. So thank you to all of the panelists, everyone who presented. If I could ask you to turn your cameras on, we'll transition into a bit of a conversation mode. I have a few questions that I prepared to sort of seed conversation, but if there's other questions from the Q&A or in the chat, we can also address those. So my first question that I'll just pose, and anyone can sort of go first to address it, but what are the biggest barriers to data sharing, and how can they be overcome? And from your perspective, through your lens. Anyone? I mean, I could answer it, but that won't be any fun.
So maybe I can go first, but this is based on my personal opinion. Normally, it's an issue of the different mandates that institutions have, and people feel that they protect the data for themselves and also for the institutions they work for. But if everybody is on the same platform of understanding that we need this data for a bigger objective in terms of even the seabed 2030 or even mapping these gaps, then the data would be shared more readily. And also sometimes the issue of data repositories not being within the country of the data generation, like in our region, then sometimes this doesn't give that impetus for people to share data because they think the data is going outside and it can be used by several other people for which they don't have any control of. So I think also that the need for regional on-site data repositories and even collaborations in terms of regional centers that are on-site where people can interact more and even create that trust, then data can be shared.
Those are interesting points. I think that the sort of FAIR principles, right, are encouraging us to move beyond those kinds of limitations, and hopefully we can figure out ways to do that. And I think a key piece of data sharing that you hit on there is trust and attribution. Once you put it out there, if you're not being credited for your work or recognized for the contribution, it makes it less of an incentive to make it available. And so I know that we within the Seabed 2030 project recognize the importance of that. I know the IHO DCDB does as well. And so really making sure that everyone who puts effort into this is credited is, I think, paramount to what we're trying to do as a global community. I will call on hands that are raised. Dr. Sohu, I think you were first, so please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Data sharing is a very big challenge in our region. First is depend of on who is finance data collecting. Usually data collection is under a project. And who is funded with this organism who is funded this project is the owner of the data. He don't mean that we charge this data. It's a restriction. Is the first phase. And secondly, when we are collecting data in scientific area, when we collect data, if we are not we don't publish one paper with this data, we cannot share this data. That is the problem we face with the facet. Now you know that in our subregion, for example, in Benin, for example, we have example of collaboration, sharing data, is because we under one project we have some equipment buying for the project for each institution, collecting data in each country: Togo, Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria. And when we're collecting data, we are converting data for example, to Benin, is the database in Benin. Then it's very easy for us to share this data among the country who is contributing to the database. That is the problem we have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Brianna, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with everyone so far, and kind of just adding on, I think since we went around the globe trying to get data, a lot of it's time. It takes time and effort to get data in the first place. So people do feel very have a lot of ownership of their data. Because of that, I think, it's number one is finding a place where all the data lives. And that's different, whether it's locally or regionally or globally. And the other thing is having a process to access the data. Certain governments need a specific form, and then it's easy to fill out. Others are looking for just something that's, kind of some legitimate that they're going to get attributed. So having some sort of process that is visible is really important, I think. And that was a challenge that we had to create, and just again, trust with the institutions and organizations that we were only going to use it for the machine learning and not publish it somewhere else. And so with that, the third thing is actually getting the data. Like, we would contact people, and then having to receive it in an organized fashion is also a formatting issue. But anyways, I could go on, but I'll let somebody else go. Thank you.
Thank you. Telma, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I agree with all that has been said. So we defend and support the FAIR principles. And there's two main issues. The first one is to find the data. So now with the data portals, this is becoming more easy, but it's not a well-established process yet. And the other problem is to access the data. So there are some open source data and some proprietary data, but even the proprietary data should have a clear authentication process to access it. And this isn't clear yet. So this is, I think, are the two main issues nowadays.
Great, thank you for that. I think it's also, we're doing a good job of this right now, but continuing to amplify the message of why it's important, what the benefits are of sharing data, right? Working together. Giselle, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Okay, I think I will agree with Zachary that the main problem of data sharing is ownership of data, and we do not have, sometimes in regions, there are no convention or reglementation on how to use data. Because the main thing is how data are they collected, who are the people funding data collection? And now, is there a convention that will lead data uses, how people will use the data? I think that all those things should be addressed so that data should be made available. Thank you.
That's very similar to a message in the chat that says clear data license that clarifies what people are allowed to do and not do with data is really critical here. Anyone else? Anything to add? I will move on to my next question. Wait, go ahead. Yes.
I think I just wanted to add that I couldn't say, I couldn't bring this up without attributing that there's an attribution page on the ALICO Atlas that lists everyone very visually. As well as I just want to give a big shout out to Dr. David Aburo, who also helped survey team and create lots of data. So it's really that collaborative effort and that vision of a greater good.
And that's really what there's no way we can do what we're trying to do if we don't figure out how to collaborate and do all this together, right? That's great. Okay, next question. We've heard quite a bit about capacity development and growing expertise in different parts of the various presentations. I know we have two alumni of the Nippon Foundation JEBCO training program. Maybe you guys could give a very brief little update about the kind of impact that program had for you professionally, and also to let people know about its existence.
Can I go first?
Please.
Yeah, through my training in the IHO Cat A hydrography, my country was also able to facilitate its IHO ascension. And just after I came from training, it took a whole year. And this was also in collaboration with the Kenya National and Oceanographic Commission, where Amon and I are members, which we really tried to spearhead Kenya into joining IHO. And after this training, they really appreciated that even after we join, we still have some people who really understand what is going on at the IHO. Because getting into IHO as members and you don't have capacity back at home, there are many technical terms and things that going on at IHO, they're not able to synthesize because they're laymen in that field. So this was really a huge boost towards Kenya joining the International Hydrographic Organization.
So maybe to add also on that is that after my training, I was lucky because then Kenya was getting the research platform, the RV Mtafiti, which allowed me seagoing activities, collecting some of this data, but we are also still thinking of how to share some of the data we have already collected. I've also assisted in maybe acquisition of some of the instrumentation in terms of developing the specs for our research vessel or even the smaller research vessels. And also through this training, I was appointed by IOC to the JEBCO subcommittee on undersea feature names, which I've been doing since 2018 until, but the contract is coming to an end towards 2023. So I've also had that nice interactions with other members of this community of ocean mapping and also assisting in terms of the JEBCO activities.
Great, thank you. Roxy Wigley, who is the director of the training program, noted in the chat that there is a session about the program and its impacts on Friday, so people should plan to tune in for that. I wanted to ask if there are other existing training programs or opportunities that you all know of that we could try to connect and leverage efforts of to help build capacity in this region.
Japan also trained category B hydrographers in Kenya. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have 8 category B hydrographers who are trained by Japan government under the JICA, the Japan International Cooperation Agency. But most of them, this training took part in the 90s and most of them are almost retiring. So we'll need more capacity building again.
Also, maybe to add something on Kenya, that my institution, the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, is data center in terms of training center through the IOC Ocean Teacher Global Academy. And together, myself and Victoria, we are trying to develop a short training just to share some of the information we have within the region or even within Africa. And like currently we have the training ongoing now where we are showing some of the work we can do and some of the tools that you need for you to even venture into ocean mapping and collecting some of the bathymetry data and create that nice small community within our region and also within Africa so that we can progress some of these activities to do with ocean research, including bathymetry data collection.
Great, thank you. Telma.
So the Portuguese Hydrographic Office has also Cat A and Cat B hydrography courses that are open to international students. And in the past, we had some students from Portuguese-speaking African countries.
Great. So I would just like to add that from my perspective, leading the regional center for the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, I welcome input and contact from anyone who's, in the panelist group and also on the call to reach out to us if there's any way that we can help propagate tools, information, workflows to you to help build capacity. We're very happy to do that and help, extend skills, both in terms of working with mapping data, working with web services, integrating data of different types. We can only do this if we work together, and we're very happy to share the knowledge and experience that we have. My next question is that we have both the UN Decade and Seabed 2030 happening in parallel, which provides huge opportunities for us to accelerate sort of individually and as a community. Do you have any thoughts on the impact that these programs are going to have on your own work? I do, but I won't speak. Or like just maybe general optimism? Do you see opportunities? What do you think the next 9 years has in store for us as we move through this really important decade together?
So maybe I can go first. So for me, I think these initiatives, it's now getting into the literature of government. Like you can already start hearing about Seabed 2030, the UN Decade of Ocean Science, and therefore you get the goodwill from even government. So if you write maybe a proposal to even for equipment acquisition, seagoing activities, you can have that hope that the government already knows of this and also the objectives within they can derive from these activities. But also in terms of research, then it also gives that urgency in terms of we now have a timeline. So when you talk of 2030, then already people think of the timeline that it entails, and also in terms of it's within 9 years to go now. So it also gives that urgency and need for people to get on board.
Great. Anybody else? That was a dud of a question. Come on, nothing?
I can jump in and just say I think it's a great opportunity. Our Alan Alice was at COP26 recently, and we were able to show the impact of, countries are really making goals and they're really pushing for it right now. And so to be able to have maps and data available for them to grasp onto and to make more informed decisions, it's a really important, that's what's exciting and important right now, is that, we provide that data and we have the whole process of why we need the data for these specific projects. And we're really excited to see what can happen because of more consistent and easily accessible data.
Great. Telma?
So I think Seabed it's a great opportunity to collect all the foundation data that is needed for the research in the ocean. And next, I think from the Seabed we can go to next challenge, the ocean surface with remote sensing, and then in the remote future the water column with the autonomous vessels. I think and then we will get to know the ocean in three dimensions. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have two thoughts I'll just throw out at everyone. The two things that excite me most are A, the community that we're building. We're learning to work together in a whole new way. The impact of that will extend far beyond 2030, and it's really exciting to see us all come together and share in new ways. And the other thing that's really exciting is that we're really working to complete the first map of the planet, complete map of the planet. It hasn't been done yet, and we're all playing an important part in that. And that's a really, really exciting thing. Okay, so I have one more question in our remaining 9 minutes. If you could map anywhere in your region of interest, I could put a dollar amount on it, but that would just be, you know, pulling it from the sky. But if you could map any area in your region of interest, what would it be and why?
Oh,
And
can I
don't
go
say all of
first?
it, because yes, go ahead, Victoria.
I would map one of the Great Lakes, which is the second largest freshwater lake in the world. That is Lake Victoria, was named after Lake Victoria. In fact, I come from the shores of Lake Victoria. There have been a lot of accidents in that lake, and there's a lot of siltation going on that is causing flooding to the neighboring communities whenever there's a downpour. So I would really give priority to that. And then we have 2 charts covering Lake Victoria that I think they were done during the colonial times. Since 1963, when we gained independence, nothing has been done. And most of the work that is being done by the East Africa community, because it's being shared by 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, they're just models of the bathymetry. There's never been any proper survey that has been done. And then there's also this plant called the water hyacinth, which has covered the huge chunk of the lake.
Great, thank you. Brianna?
Well, first of all, South Africa coast, we're trying to get some of that coastline done. We know that it's within 15 meters. However, some of our satellite imagery isn't quite, we're trying to work on how we can get that. And I know it's very important. The why is because the government and researchers there have both come to us and say, hey, you're within we have a 30 degree to 30 degree limitation, and we're within that. So we're trying to get that area, as well as seamounts. So I follow up with somebody that mentioned that they are mapping seamounts in the Micronesia, as well as the Salas and Gomez off of South Africa, South America, the Easter Island area. So not quite as applicable, but in Africa, the South African coast on that north bit.
Great, thank you. Telma?
So I think it would be the Mid-Atlantic ridge, because it's the longest mountain range in the world. So it must hide lots of secrets, I think.
So maybe I can say, for me, just from my presentation, I would really love, before everything with me in terms of my research or work with the coastal area, to have the nearshore area, which is still blank, to be filled. So we fill that gap. I think it would be very nice to have high resolution data of that area. Then we can, I mean, we have so many things going on there. We have coral reefs, we have seagrass, you have ports coming up now. So even with the interest of the blue economy, I think that would be very nice to have that data.
Great. Giselle, do you have any suggestions?
Oh, probably I want to highlight that the ocean data collecting is in our sub-region. Usually we do it with sub-regional project, for example, with FAO, and some because in Benin, for example, we don't have a vessel. Then we are involved in a sub-regional project to collect the data, to analyze data in a long beach. Now we have We are facing one problem now is a problem of shallow water data. It's a need because you know that for with a regional or sub-regional program project is not a shallow water. It is a water deep 20 meter deeper. But then in a lot and the shallow water is the zone where we have a nursery of fishing is very necessary for a fishery population. That is a very is a need for our country. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Giselle, go ahead.
Okay, if I was to choose a section to map around our area, we have the zone around the Gypsy Port, because we were told that there were some coral there, and we do not know what have been the impact of the Gypsy Port on that site, and we would love to know that. If we have also the section around the Sanaga and the mouth of Cameroon. There is we have many rivers, about 3 rivers that have their outlet at that section, and there are many hydrodynamic and sedimentary processes there that we can also map and maybe understand and see how we have an island there which is called Manoka, and it's also the opportunity to see if the zone is stable and what can that island will become maybe in one day, in 10 years or other 20 years. It's good to do that. That's what I think.
All right, great. So a big variety from lakes to mid-ocean ridges and everything in between. That's great. All right, so we've pretty much reached the end of our time. I'd like to thank you all again for participating and presenting today. This has been a real pleasure for me and an honor to host you all. I hope our attendees have enjoyed this and found it informative. We can continue the conversation offline through email, and I think everyone's contact information is probably on the Map the Gaps website. If it's not, we can update it and make sure. And I look forward to working more closely with all of you in the future. Thank you again. Take care, everyone.